In October 1943, the Japanese began work on a simplified version of the Mikuras, which were a simplified version of the Etorufus, which were a simplified version. You get the idea. These were the 33 ships of the 940-ton Ukuru class. For the most part, they were repeats of the Mikuras. The main difference was the use of prefabricated sections. This drove construction time down even more to an average of about 6 months. That's better, but still not good for a ship under 1,000 tons, especially when you're an island nation where most things have to be imported and your enemy's torpedoes are starting to work. Combine this with them having at least a decade lead on you technologically. Oh yeah, and you started the war with less merchant cargo capacity under your flag than you used in peacetime. So every merchant ship, especially tankers, is going to hurt. Starting to enter service in mid-1944, most of their time was spent in the Japan to East Indies route. As that dried up, they tried to protect the Sea of Japan route and Japanese coast. Main armament was, again, 3 120mm 45 caliber guns, one at the bow on the forecastle deck and a twin open mount aft. 120 depth charges, 12 depth charge throwers, and a single 81mm mortar were carried. They also carried minesweeping paravanes. They had Type 22 and Type 13 radars, along with Type 93 sonar. Propulsion was provided by 2 diesel engines, each running its own propeller for 4,200 horsepower, which gave a speed of 19 knots. Hiburu was sunk in Hadai Bay August 22, 1944 by the submarine Harder. Kumi was sunk January 28, 1945 near Shanghai by the submarine Spadefish. Yaku was sunk near Nha Tran Bay February 23, 1945 by the submarine Hammerhead. Shonen was sunk near Hainan February 25, 1945 by the Ho. Mokuto hit a mine and sank near Hisaki April 4, 1945. Ojika was sunk near Shokokusan Island May 2, 1945 by the Springer. Okinawa was bombed and sunk pierside at Miyazuru July 30, 1945. Post-war she was raised and scrapped. Inagi was bombed and sunk at Onagawa August 9, 1945. Datio was surrendered at the end of the war, but hit a mine November 16, 1945, and sunk in the Tsushima Strait. Ikara was sunk pierside at Nanohi Harbor at the end of the war. Post-war, she was used as a breakwater at Akita. Iwo, Uku, Sakido, Takani, Kuga, and Aguni were surrendered at the end of the war and scrapped. Ukuru, Shinan, Ikuna, Shiga, and Chikuba were surrendered at the end of the war but given back to the Japanese as weather survey ships. Habushi and Hotaka were ceded to the U.S. at the end of the war. Shisaka was surrendered at the end of the war and ceded to the Chinese. Kanawa, Habuto, and Amami were surrendered at the end of the war and given to the British. Ikino and Kuzo were surrendered at the end of the war and given to the Soviets. Otsu, Urumi, Muratosu, and Tomoshiri were never completed.